خیر ستمگار سے چھٹ چھٹ آئے پیمبر، ایک شور تھا گھر گھر، جب خیر ستمگار سے چھوٹے آل پیامبر، ایک شور تھا گھر گھر، 18 عزیزوں کی لہر آ کے بنانا، سجاد سے پوچھو، جب دختر شبیر نے زندان سے قضا کی، آفت کی گھڑی تھی، اس ننھی سی میت بندھے ہاتھوں سے اٹھانا، سجاد سے پوچھو، تھی ایک رسن پارا اسیروں کے گلے تھے، سب جھکے کھڑے تھے، تھی ایک رسن پارا اسیروں کے گلے تھے، سب جھکے کھڑے تھے، رسی میں بندھے زینب و کلثوم کا آنا، سجاد سے پوچھو، رسی میں بندھے زینب و کلثوم کا آنا، سجاد سے پوچھو، افسوس نبی زادیوں کا شام میں جانا، سجاد سے پوچھو، سر ننگے وہ ماں بہنوں کا بازاروں میں جانا، سجاد سے پوچھو،
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
رن سے جب خاک سنا اکبر ذیشاں آئے، ماں کی خدمت میں کوئی آن کے مہمان آئے، گھر میں لاشے کو لیے شاہ شہیداں آئے،
نوگر خاک بس چاک گرے بہائے،
نوگر
خاک بس چاک گرے بہائے،
کی صداقت ہوئے یوسف ثانی بانو،
مل گئی خاک میں اکبر کی جوانی بانو،
مل گئے
خاک میں اکبر کی جوانی بانو،
دیکھ لے آخری دیدار پسر مرتا ہے، سامنے آنکھوں کے یہ نور نظر مرتا ہے، اب کوئی دم میں میرا رش کے خمر مرتا ہے
منہ سے باہر ہے زباں تشنہ جگر مرتا ہے
منہ سے
باہر
باہر
ہے زباں تشنہ جگر مرتا ہے
تم ہے سینے میں رکا زخم موسیقوں ہے جاری ہے
شہر بانو تیرا گھر لٹنے کی تیاری
شہر بانو
تیرا گھر لٹنے کی تیاری ہے
خیمے میں جو حضرات کیے پر درد صدا مضطرب ہو گئے ناموں سے رسول دوسرا کہا چلا کے سکینہ کہ ہے بھیا
فضا دوڑی سوئے در پھینک کے سر پر سے رضا
فضا دوڑی
سوئے در پھینک کے سر پر سے رضا
بیٹی زینب بے پار نکل آئی باہر
بانو گھبرا کے کھلے سر نکل آئی باہر
بانو
گھبرا کے کھلے سر نکل آئی باہر
کے کھاندے پہ جو دیکھا علی اکبر کو نڈھال ہاتھ پھیلا کے یہ چلائی کہ ہے میرے لال کیا غضب ہو گیا اے با شہین قصال
راس آیا نہ میرے بچے کو 18واں سال
راس آیا
نہ میرے بچے کو 18واں سال
ٹکڑے تیغوں سے بدن ہو گیا سارا ہے
کون تھا جس نے میرے شیر کو مارا ہے
کون تھا
جس نے میرے شیر کو مارا ہے
رو کے بانوں سے یہ فرمانے لگے سرور دین سر نہ پیٹھو ابھی زندہ ہے میرا ماہ جبی ساتھ آتی ہے پر ہر دم ہے دم باز پشیز
وہ جن کا بھی ہے اور ہم بھی ہے مرنے کے قریب
وہ جن
کا
کا
بھی ہے اور ہم بھی ہے مرنے کے قریب
سب چھوٹے اپنا رہا کو کہ ہمارا بانو
یہ جوان بیٹے کے غم نے ہمیں مارا بانو
یہ جواب
بیٹے کے غم نے ہمیں مارا بانو
کے مادر کی صدا کھول دیے دیدہ نام ہاتھ اٹھا کر کہا رونا میرے سر کی قسم پاس آ کر ہمیں چھاتی سے لگا لو اس دم
رن سے آئے ہیں تمہاری ملاقات کو ہاں
رن سے آئے ہیں
تمہاری ملاقات کو ہاں
پھر یہ گر شاہ کے اقبال سے دیکھا ہم نے
اور تمہیں آگے عجب حال سے دیکھا ہم نے
اور تمہیں
آگے
آگے
عجب حال سے دیکھا ہم نے
بال کیوں بکھرے ہیں کیوں پھینک دی ہے سر پر سے ردا نیل کیوں سینے پہ ہے کیوں ہے گریباں پھٹا خاک کیوں منہ پہ ملی ہو یہ پسر تم پہ فدا
شاہ دنیا میں سلامت رہے یہ کیا
شاہ دنیا
میں سلامت رہے یہ کیا
لٹ گئی ہے نا سخن مو سے نکالو اماں
میں تو جیتا ہوں کلیجے کو سنبھالو اماں
میں تو جیتا ہوں
کلیجے کو سنبھالو اماں
بولی بانوں کے جو کہتے ہو خدا یوں ہی کرے اے میرے لال یہ ماں تیری بلا لے کے مرے لا دو ڈالو میں جو کو میں کپڑے ہیں بھرے
جان سے ہاتھ پہ کس لیے چھاتی پہ دھرے
جان سے
ہاتھ پہ کس لیے چھاتی پہ دھرے
مجھ کو معلوم ہوا حلقل سے جاتے ہو تم
میرے رونے کے لیے زخم چھپاتے ہو تو
میرے رونے
کے لیے زخم چھپاتے ہو تو
بانو صدمے سے نہ مر جائے یہ ڈر ہے بیٹا سب تیرے دل کی میرے دل کو خبر ہے بیٹا ہائے سینے پہ تیرا کو में दर्द है बेटा,
फिर ये क्या है जो नहीं जख्म जिगर है बेटा,
फिर ये क्या है
जो नहीं जख्म जिगर है बेटा,
सनसनाता है जिगर जान चली जाती है,
इस लहू से तो मेरे दूध की बू आती है,
इस लहू से
तो मेरे दूध की बू आती है।
आह की सुन के ये अकबर बसद रंजो मलाल, दर्द छाती में उठा गैर हुआ और बिहार, दिल में ये सोच के रोने लगा वो ने किसाल।
हम सफर करते हैं अम्मा को शादी का ख्याल,
हम सफर
करते हैं अम्मा को शादी का ख्याल,
पर में होएगा कफन खाक पे चेहरा होगा,
ना दुल्हन होगी ना औलाद न सेहरा होगा,
ना दुल्हन
होगी ना औलाद न सेहरा होगा,
ना दुल्हन
होगी ना औलाद न सेहरा होगा।
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلوات الحمدللہ رب العالمین صلاۃ و سلام علی اشرف الانبیاء والمرسلین رسول خدا کی ذات پہ صلوات ہوتے ہیں اس میں سب کے عریضوں پہ دستخط جھولا تیرا ہے آج بھی دفتر حسین کا ہوتے ہیں اس میں سب کے عریضوں پہ دستخط جھولا تیرا ہے آج بھی دفتر حسین کا اصغر نے ہنس کے پوچھا یہ حرم العین سے 9 لاکھ کیا بگاڑیں گے مل کر حسین کا دو اشعار اس شہزادے کی شان کے بسم اللہ یہ میری قوم ہے کہ جس کا یہ معصوم ہے رہبر علی اصغر علی اصغر علی اصغر علی اصغر میرا مولا علی اصغر میرا آقا علی اصغر علی اصغر علی اصغر علی اصغر علی اصغر میرا مولا علی اصغر میرا آقا علی اصغر حسینی باغ میں ایک نور آیا ہے کلی جیسا اداؤں سے تو لگتا ہے ولی ابن ولی جیسا یہ ہے کم سن مگر باب الحوائج ہے سخی جیسا شبیہ مرتضی سارے کا سارا ہے علی جیسا چلا یوسف عدن سے دیکھنے شبیر کا دلبر علی اصغر علی اصغر علی اصغر علی اصغر میرا مولا علی اصغر میرا آقا علی اصغر سوالی بن کے آئے ہیں عطائیں لے کے جائیں گے علی اصغر کے جھولے سے شفائیں لے کے جائیں گے جسے اولاد ہو گئی کار मांगे वो अभी मन्नत, यहाँ 14 की आमद है, ये है शबीर की जन्नत। यहाँ पर मांगने को आ गए तेरे सभी नौकर, अली असगर अली असगर अली असगर अली असगर, मेरा मौला अली असगर, मेरा आका अली असगर। अली का खून हो जिनमें कहाँ तीरों से डरते हैं, मगर इस घर के तो 6 माह के बच्चे जंग करते हैं। नहीं था जानता हुर्मिल के जब मैदान में आएगा, तो बच्चा तीर खाने के लिए गर्दन उठाएगा। उधर गर्दन उठी और बोल उठा 9 लाख का लश्कर, अली असगर अली असगर अली असगर अली असगर, मेरा मौला अली असगर, मेरा आका अली असगर। इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम जब अपनी अबा में उठा के ले आए जनाब अली असगर अलैहिस्सलाम को, फौजी अशकिया से मुतालबा किया पानी का, क्या आवाज आई? मेरे मौला अली असगर ने जो कलाम फौजी अशकिया से की, यजीदी फौज के अफसर बड़ी बातें तू करता है, यही इस्लाम है तेरा कि तू बच्चों से लड़ता है। मुझे पानी के बदले में बुला कर तीर मारा है, ऐ हुर्मिल डूब के मर जा तू एक बच्चे से हारा है। बड़ा हुर्मिल बना फिरता है बोला तीर को खाकर, अली असगर अली असगर अली असगर अली असगर, मेरा मौला अली असगर, मेरा आका अली असगर। सलवात। मार मार के थक गए अज़ादारो, अशूर का दिन हुसैन करबला की जमीन है। भाई मारे गए, बेटे मारे गए, मेहमान मारे गए, तने तनहा मेरे मौला ने करबला की जमीन पे एक इस्तगासा बुलंद किया। हल मिलना सिरे यल सुरना, अज़ादारो हुसैन का इस्तगासा बुलंद करना था। यह क़याम में कोहराम बर्पा हुआ। जल्दी से मेरे मौला हुसैन क़याम की जानिब आए, आके पूछा अम्मा फिजा ये शोर कैसा है? कहा हुसैन जब से तूने गुर्बत का इस्तगासा बुलंद किया है, अली असगर ने अपने आप को पंगुड़े से जमीन पे गिरा दिया है। अज़ादारो मेरा इमाम समझ गया मेरा आखिरी नगीना कुर्बानी के लिए तैयार है। आए रुबाब के पास, कहा रुबाब मैं वक्त का इमाम हूँ, असगर हमारा बेटा है, मुझे असगर दे, मैं जाके हुज्जत तमाम करूँ, फौजे अशकिया से पानी मांगूं। अज़ादारो बीबी ने थोड़ी सी मोहलत मांगी, कहा मैं असगर तैयार करके देती हूँ, ये लेंगे न कहें कि माँ से छुपा के ले आया है। अज़ादारो बीबी अपने कहने में असगर को उठा के गई। रावी लिखते हैं एक संदूक से बीबी ने सब्ज रंग का कमरबंद निकाला, असगर की कमर के गिर्द कमरबंद बांधना शुरू किया। एक सफेद रंग की पट्टी असगर के माथे पे बांधी और रो रो के पढ़ती रही, इन्ना लिल्लाहि व इन्ना इलैहि राजिऊन। अज़ादारो माँ बेटे की कुछ गुफ्तगू हुई। बीवी ने कहा असगर मैं हाशमी घराने की नहीं हूँ, मैं बेगाने कुफ की हूँ, माँ की इज्जत का ख्याल रखना मैदान में। अज़ादारो सूखे लबों पे असगर ने ज़बान फेरी, माँ से रो के कहा, असगर ने रो के कहा माँ से, अम्मा जितने शहीद जब वक्त आया असगर को लेने का कारोबार, मुझे असगर दे मैं कब्र में उतारूं। बीवी ने रोकेगा नहीं जुरत जब मैं समझाऊं, नहीं बाप उतारते कब्र में बेटे को। ओ लड़ारो, जब असगर को कब्र में उतारा हुसैन ने आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके गरम रेत करबला की असगर की तलियों पे डालनी शुरू की, फिर टखनों पे डालनी शुरू की। जितना जो साबित था हुसैन करबला में, जब असगर के चेहरे की बारी आई, पुष्ट करके बैठ गया साबरों का सुल्तान। पुष्ट करके अकबर असगर के चेहरे पे रेत डालनी शुरू की। आवाज आई रुबाब की, मेरे आका बस कर इम्तिहान और क्या होंगे।
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
मेरी आप हजरत आ जाइए, तशरीफ लाइए बराए मेहरबान। Please, can you all move a little forward as much as you can, please.
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات سيجعل لهم الرحمن ودا. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightening of the hearts, for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Savior, Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajuh Sharif, enlighten your souls, and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Respected elders, my dear brothers in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. He was amongst the most closest of companions to Amir al-Mu'mineen, a man beloved to the Ahl al-Bayt, praised by the Ahl al-Bayt, has a legacy which involves service towards the Ahl al-Bayt. An individual who served the Holy First Imam, the Second Imam, the Third Imam, as well as the Fourth Imam, and indeed attained martyrdom in order to set an example of a true follower of the Ahl al-Bayt. Qambar ibn Hamdan is an individual that many of us have heard his name, yet perhaps have not necessarily studied his life. In that Qambar is known to be amongst the most choicest of the servants of the commander of the faithful, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. And it is not surprising that when Amir al-Mu'mineen, and for that matter, every member of the Ahl al-Bayt chooses an individual to become their servant, or indeed their companion, it is not a matter of convenience, or it's not a matter of specifically an option whereby they like, for example, how they work, but rather they select them based on merit and the potential for them to absorb the knowledge as well as the inspiration from individuals such as the commander of the faithful. You look at like such as Maytham al-Tammar, you look at people like, for example, Amr al-Khaza'i, you look at individuals like Uwais al-Qarani, you look at people such as, for example, Malik al-Ashtar. These individuals, when you analyze them and you see the proximity towards Amir al-Mu'mineen, you recognize that Amir al-Mu'mineen looked into them and found potential in them, found great potential in order to indeed help them ascend to as high levels as possible. And therefore, when they became companions of the Imam, when they served the Imam, they were able to recognize the excellence of the Imam and truly understand whom they associated with, because many of them narrations from the Imam or the Prophet regarding the merits of the Imam himself. Yes. For instance, you find that when it comes to a particular narration, we are told that one day the Holy Prophet of Islam, Rasul al-A'zam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was seen to be in Masjid al-Nabawi. He was in the Masjid al-Nabawi. When he was standing, all of a sudden he sat down and he went into sajda. The companions around him were surprised. When he went into sajda, he sat again. Then he went to sajda second time. He sat, went into sajda third time. He repeated this 5 times. It drew the attention of the Sahaba, of the companions. One of them, Ibn Abbas. He came to the Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, what has happened? What is the reason why you went into sajda in such a way? The Prophet of Islam said, when I was standing, Jibreel came to me and said, Ya Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends his salam upon you and wishes to tell you that he loves Ali ibn Abi Talib. And the Prophet, when he heard this, he went into sajda. As soon as he sat, the Prophet of Islam said, when I sat, I heard, and Jibreel came to me and said, Allah sends his salam to you and wants to tell you that he loves Fatima al-Zahra. The Prophet went into sajda. He sat again. On the 3rd occasion, what was he told? He was told that Allah Ta'ala loves Al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. The Prophet went into sajda. On the 4th occasion, Sayyid al-Shuhada Abu Abdullah, he went into sajda. Now, what was on the 5th time? Yes? On the 5th occasion, when the Prophet of Islam sits before going towards sajda, the Prophet said, Jibreel came to me and said, Allah sends his salam upon you and tells you that he loves whomsoever loves those individuals. And therefore the Prophet of Islam went into sajda. He said, when I went into sajda, I expressed my thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this particular feature. That's why today, one of our Maraja, Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani, Hafidhahullah, he himself narrates this. You know, from the books of narration, it says that those who understood the status of Amir al-Mu'mineen will recognize that we are told in Jannah, there is no night and there is no day, there is no sunrise, there is no sunset. The narration goes that inside paradise, the inhabitants of Jannah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all of the people of paradise. It is said that the people of paradise will see a phenomena that they've never witnessed before. They'll see it is as if the sun is rising. They question the Malaika, what is this light that we see that we have never encountered? It resembles how we remember the sun rising in dunya. It's beautiful. The response will be, this is the light that radiates from the mouth of Ali when he smiles in Jannah. Yes? Therefore, the recognition from these individuals was that they were not associating themselves with any person, but rather a man chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the successor of the Holy Prophet. And hence, what do you find? We find that the likes of Qambar was indeed honored to be amongst those whom Amir al-Mu'mineen himself chose in this particular regard. When you look at Qambar, when was he born? According to narrations, he was born in the year 20 after Hijrah, because he was martyred in the year 95 after Hijrah at the age of 75. And that's how we deduce his birth year, despite the lack of evidence regarding his birth. But we are told that his status was such that, indeed, ulama like Ayatollah Khoury today in his famous book, Mu'jam Rijal al-Hadith, which details the authenticity and the respect towards certain narrations or narrators of hadith, he says that Qambar is a reliable narrator of hadith. Why? Because he says Amir al-Mu'mineen said that Qambar acts on justice. In which way? One day, this man by the name of Shuraih al-Qadi, the famous story that the Imam alayhi salam indeed lost his shield. Yes? When he lost his shield, the Jewish man found the shield. When he found the shield, Imam alayhi salam said to him that this is my shield. The man said, no, that's mine. Amir al-Mu'mineen was the Khalifa. Amir al-Mu'mineen was not, for example, an individual like anyone else in the community. He was the head of the community. He could have easily said to him, I say to you that it's mine. If you don't give it to me, there are repercussions. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, no, let's go to the jurist. Let's go to the man who will rule. He and the Jewish man go to Shuraih al-Qadi. When they come to Shuraih said to Ali, he says, Ya Ali, what is your evidence that this shield is yours? He said, my evidence, first of all, is my sons, Hassan and Hussein. Ask them. Yes? Shuraih says, no, they are your sons. I cannot take their word. Yes? And of course, later Amir al-Mu'mineen says, how can you not take the opinions and the statements of the grandsons of the Holy Prophet, whom the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, has protected them and has purified them, a thorough purification. Yes? It defies belief that somebody will not take the testimony of Sayyid Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. But anyway, we are told that he said, then another person who testifies to the fact that this shield is mine is Qambar. Shuraih said, I can't take the word and the testimony of a slave man. That's not possible. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, do not say this, because this man is a man of justice. Yes? This man has adala. Don't say you don't take his testimony for it. Yes? And of course the narration tells us that they separated, and Amir al-Mu'mineen just accepted the ruling of this Shuraih. The Jewish man was indeed taken back by this act of righteousness. This is not witnessed before. He came to Imam and said, I have not seen anything like this. The shield is definitely yours. I stand in admiration for the moments that I just experienced. But Shuraih himself is in, this man, Qambar himself, is a subject of many people's admiration. Ibn Sikki, you've heard of Ibn Sikki. He was the teacher of the sons of Al-Mutawakkil al-Abbasi, alayhi la'anullah. You know, the Abbasids, they were worse than the Umayyads, and I'll say this honestly, yes? Many of us, today, you look at the Arab world, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, they've produced TV documentaries and so-called soap operas or some kind of, serials on the lives of these individuals, these Abbasid caliphs, glorifying them. People like Harun, yes, people like Mutawakkil, others, glorifying them. They were horrific individuals with massive crimes, yes. Amongst them, Mutawakkil destroyed the shrine of Abu Abdullah. Amongst them, Mutawakkil, he would hate Amir, he would have sessions of the sending, God forbid, the la'na on the Aimah, on Amir al-Mu'mineen, on Sayyidatun Nasa Fatima. This Mutawakkil had this Ibn Sikki as a man who would what? Who would teach his sons. One day, he wanted to examine him. He said to him, Ibn Sikki, what is my son's worth in your eyes in relation to the sons of Ali ibn Abi Talib? How do you see them? Yes. And this man, Ibn Sikki, said to Mutawakkil, he says, Wallah, the shoes, the sandals of Qambar, the servant of Ali, Hassan and Hussein, is more beloved to me than your two sons. To that extent. He used who? He used Qambar. Of course, this wasn't a cheap statement for Ibn Sikki because his tongues were cut off. Yes. Mutawakkil punished them by chopping off his tongues. But Qambar was used as an example of an individual who was righteous. But I tell you, a famous statement from our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, highlights in reality what Qambar was. Imam al-Sadiq says, كان لعلي غلام اسمه قمبر. Ali had a servant by the name of Qambar. يحبه حبا شديدا. This is phenomenal. he said that Qambar used to love Ali excessively. When Imam al-Sadiq says excessively, it's not like you and I say excessively. Yes? When the Imam who is chosen by Allah says a word, yes, if we take the narration, what do we find? We find he means that the way that Qambar lived his life in servitude to Amir al-Mu'mineen was exemplary and was outstanding. In that, I tell you, wallah, today you see around the world the expression of love towards the Ahl al-Bayt. And some people can't seem to fathom, can't seem to comprehend, can't seem to understand what is this whole issue about. Yes, they see millions walking from Najaf to Karbala, serving the Zuwar of Hussein, honoring them, massaging their bodies, giving them everything, wanting to protect them and doing whatever they can. One of the ulama, they said, you know what he said? He said one of the Zuwar was walking in the path, of the ziyarah to Karbala. When he stopped in a mawqib, mawqib, these places where people stop, they had no tent, so it was in the heat. He said he entered, he was given food, he sat to eat. He said all of a sudden he saw a man standing up just above him, just like that, and looking down at him. So he said, I felt uncomfortable. What is this man just looking me like this? But he was not looking at me, he was just standing up. He said, I moved. I picked up my plate, sitting there on the way, on the side. I picked up my plate and I went and sat somewhere else because I was uncomfortable. This man is standing right next to me. He said he came, followed me, and stood right next to me, just like that. And I had to face him. I said, brother, I feel a bit uncomfortable you're standing, what are you doing? He looked at me and said, brother, wallah, I am poor man. I don't have money to buy any food or to do anything. What I want to do is, when Zuwar come, I stand next to them to protect them from the heat of the sun. That is all that I can do. So I've stood here so that what? So that you don't feel the heat of the sun. Allahu Akbar. Look at the love for Aba Abdullah, and we come and say Arba'in has no evidence and we put question mark on it. Yes? Look at the expression of the ishq that people have, and there are people sitting on Mimbar of Rasulullah trying to what? Trying to say to people, no, do it by yourself, there is no such thing, no evidence, and so on and so forth. The point today is, it is not comprehended the extent of their relationship with Ali Muhammad. It's not a matter for anyone to appreciate, yes? People do not understand this special connection, this special relationship. I tell you, back in a few years ago, I was at this Hillingdon hospital waiting for the birth of my son. And I was in the prayer room, and there was a brother from our brothers from the other schools of thought. He was there, and I, was performing my salah. He came to me at the end, and he said, look, brother, I've seen that the way you pray is different. Are you a Shia? I said, yes, I have no doubt. I'm a proud member of the Shia, of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt. Yes, that's the first thing to do, yes. It is not the time now to hide our tashayyu'. No doubt. The time now is to come out and say, I'm a Shia Muslim and I mean it. Yes. The time now is not to say, brother, we are all Muslims, don't worry. No. The time now is to say, I'm a Shia Muslim. My Imam is Ali, not X and X. Yes. My Imam is whom? My Imam is Hussein, and this is whom I remember. I don't associate with any form of Khilafah or Shura. I associate with Imamat and Rasulullah. That's my madhab. Yes. And therefore, my path is the path of wilayah. I should be able to identify myself as a Shia Muslim. I'm not calling for division of Muslims. Our brothers, Al-Sunnah, our brothers. Yes, we sit with them, we eat with them, we are friends with them, we respect them. There's no problem there. But don't tell me to compromise my identity, because I cannot separate my identity, and that is the identity of a lover of Ali and Hussein, from my existence. That is part and parcel of me, and 1400 years of people laying their bodies and laying their lives for me in order for me to practice tashayyu', and now I am trying to hide my faith. I'm not in a country to hide my faith. I would say to people, I am a Shia and I'm proud of it, yes? And I say to people in the public, I am Shia and I'm proud of it, and I should be. Because this is a message of our Maraja and Najaf. You might say, oh, is this for me? No. I have spoken to Maraja and Najaf. Yes, people like Ayatollah and others said, say to people, you are a Shi'i. Yes? It is not a disunity. It's a matter of Jannah and Jahannam. Wallah, it is a matter of Jannah and Jahannam. Do you know why? Because my visa to Jannah is Ali ibn Abi Talib. And therefore, he asked me, who are you? Are you a Shia? I said, yes, alhamdulillah, yes, I'm a Shia Muslim. He said, you know, I believe we as the Ahl Sunnah have superiority over you. I said, why, brother? He said, because we love the Sahaba and the Ahl al-Bayt, but you only love the Ahl al-Bayt, so you're halfway there. I said, very well. I have a proposal here. Let's start. He said, what is it? I said, I'm prepared for you and I to come out on Facebook and social media, and I will announce, yes, as a Shia, that from day on, from this day, we as the Shia will take the Sahaba first, then the Ahl al-Bayt. He said, this is what we've been asking for 1400 years. This is excellent. Are you willing to do this? I said, Bismillah. But, بِشَرْطِهَا وَشُرُوطِهَا, with its terms and conditions. He said, what is the first condition? I said, the first condition is we can't just say this, we have to place it in action. He said, what do you mean? I said, in Salah, what do we recite in Tashahhud? He said, yes, tell me. I said, don't we recite, yes? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Don't we, both of us? He said, yes, of course, we recite it. I said, therefore, if we place the Sahaba before the Al, before the family, we must also declare before the Muslim Ummah, in order to apply this new principle, I must say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ashabi Muhammad. If you want, add the Al afterwards, but the Sahabi comes first. Don't you agree? He said, no, I don't agree. I said, what do you mean? You just said you agree. He said, I can't change that. I said, why? He said, because in Salah, you can't change anything. I said, what do you mean? He said, if I change and say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ashabi Muhammad, my Salah is void. I smiled and I looked at him and said, I will stick with the Ahl al-Bayt so that my Salah is accepted. You don't want me to take anyone above the Ahl al-Bayt, yet by the recognition that the Ahl al-Bayt are part and parcel of the Salah, and they are mentioned in Salah, yes? And that is important. The recognition today is what? Is this, that this man, Qambar, expressed his love towards Amir al-Mu'mineen in such a phenomenal way, that the sixth holy Imam would praise him for it, yes? Would praise him, حُبًّا شَدِيدًا. And that is why, you know, this divine love, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who are believers and perform righteous deeds, سَيَجْعَلُ لَهُمُ الرَّحْمَنُ وُدًّا. Allah will place in the hearts of people their love. Yes? Don't think it's a coincidence. Yes? That today the world in different parts of the planet calls out the name of Hussein. Or there are lovers of Amir al-Mu'mineen everywhere. It is not a coincidence. It is divine planning that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says those people gave everything, and therefore what? I'm giving them the hearts of mankind. And we find that people come to Karbala as droplets, yes? Individuals, people from here and there. They come all together and they become oceans in the love of Hussein. Hence, what do we find? Qambar was an example of a man who what? Who demonstrated this wilayah. And in his life, there are a number of key factors that he would document, and he's a narrator of, highlighting areas that you and I need to be focused on in our day-to-day lives. When we examine Qambar, we find that he is the narrator of a number of narrations associated with the importance of the love of Ahl al-Bayt and also the wilayah of Ahl al-Bayt. In which way? We are told that Qambar says, one day I was next to Amir al-Mu'mineen. And when I was next to Amir al-Mu'mineen, there was a guest. So he asked me, he says, go and buy some melons for the guest who had come. Qambar says, I went and I bought these 3 melons, you know, and I brought it to the Imam. When I came, Imam said to me, cut the first melon and present it. He said, I cut the first melon and I presented it, but the Imam took it away from me and tasted it first. When he tasted it, it was very bitter. He threw it. He said, take the second melon. So I opened the second melon and I gave it to the Imam. He tasted it and it was bitter. He threw it. He said, the third. And the third was the same. It was very bitter. Yes. The Imam said to him, Qambar, go back and buy another 3. Qambar said, I went. This time, he said, when I came, I didn't want to cut it myself. He said, maybe I'm making it bitter. So I gave it to Mawla. I said to him, Mawla, you cut it, please. The Imam said, don't worry. You cut the first one. So I cut the first melon. I gave it to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen tasted it and said, this is sweet. This is fine. Please present it to the guest. Later I said to him, I said, Mullah, what is the story of this melon? Why 3 were bitter and the first one out of the 3 was sweet? He said to me, Qambar, let me tell you this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presented our wilayah to all of his creations in the heavens and the earth. The ones who accepted our wilayah, what? Became sweet and nice. The ones who rejected it became bitter. Can you imagine? Yes. Can you imagine to that extent? The narrations tell us the importance of what? The importance of this notion of what? Of wilayah. Yes, number one. Number two, Qambar was an individual who would record special characteristics of the life of the commander of the faithful, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He would say, one day I was with Amir al-Mu'mineen in Kufa. A man came to visit him with his son, a guest. He said they finished the food. All of a sudden I stood up, as I often do, which I will bring water and a bowl in order for the guest to wash his hands. He said the moment I stood up with the water container and the bowl, Amir al-Mu'mineen took it away from me and went and poured it for that individual. So that individual felt embarrassed. He said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, how can you be pouring water for me? Yes, at that time, this is something that the servants and the slaves would do. Yes. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, why would you deprive me from the honor of serving you and getting reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I am like you, a human being. Yes. And then what he said is very interesting. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, who was the son of the Imam, yes, Imam said to him, now you take the water and you wash the hands or help washing the hands of the son of this individual. By Allah, yes, by Allah, if the father had not come, I would have gone and washed his hands. But because his father is here, Islam honors and wants to honor the father. So therefore, as a father, I wash the hands of the father, and as the son, you do the same for the son. Then he comes forward and says a very famous line, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He comes forward and says, whomsoever wishes to be a true Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib, then they must exhibit tawadu'. They must exhibit humility for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means what? That means that they have the desire to serve rather than be served. That is a key feature of those who are humble. By the way, we speak a lot about humility, yes? But this was a characteristic of the Ahlul Bayt. The fourth holy Imam, Imam Ali Zayn al-Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, was a man who used to love to serve because he would take part in Hajj caravans, disguised. And when they would recognize that it was the fourth Imam, he would leave that group and go to another one. Or leave the congregation and go to the other one. In order to serve. Which highlights once again the beautiful characteristic of this Arba'een walk, because it beams with beautiful teachings from the religion of Islam. Amongst them is service to others. Amongst them is sacrifice. Amongst them is charity. Yes. This is something we mustn't overlook, this idea of what the Arba'een means, and the Arba'een walk actually translates in modern day terminology, so to speak. Qambar says, I learned from Amir al-Mu'mineen not only to be humble, but also to be forgiving. He says, how? Qambar says, one day a man came from Sham. He recognized that he was a stranger. But what happened was, Amir al-Mu'mineen saw him, he welcomed him. So he said to him, dismount from your horse. You look like a stranger here. So this man was somehow humbled by the kindness of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Qambar said, I looked at Ali and I was wondering what he's about to say to him. So he said to him, oh man, is there anything we can help you? What is your story? Why are you here? So that man felt the need to tell Imam. He said to him, Muawiyah came forward in Sham and said, who is going to go and kill Ali? I will give them 10,000 dinars. So no one did it. I will give them 20. No one. 30. I accept it. So I have come to kill you. Imam said, would you like to do it? Subhanallah. Qambar said, I was surprised. Amir al-Mu'mineen is standing in front of him and saying, do you want to do it? The man put his head down and said, no. I have come here, for that purpose, but I don't want to. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Qambar said, he looked at me and says, Qambar, you give him food, you give him clothing, a rest place, you then allow him to go. Allow him to get back. Can you imagine if someone come to kill you, what you do to him? What would you say to him? The first thing you'd pick, 999, police, come and take this man. He's going to kill me. Yes. The idea today is what? Is that Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's very easy for us to say. It's very easy to sit on the member and say, yeah, forgive those who are against you. But I tell you, a man who has so much love and kindness towards humankind, yes, and don't forget this story. Someone wants to ask you, who is Ali ibn Abi Talib, say to him two things. He said, what I remember from Amir al-Mu'mineen is his famous line that today must be written everywhere in every institution. People are of two kinds, either your brother in faith or your equal in humanity. And remember what he did in Safin. Because when Amir al-Mu'mineen was deprived of water in Safin, when he had water, he said, I will not do what they did. Ask them to come and take water. The army of Muawiyah did not allow Amir al-Mu'mineen for the drinking of the water. Neither did they allow his own army. In fact, the companions of Imam were surprised. They were saying to the Imam, but how can we treat our enemies in such a way? But a man whose heart is full of love, yes? A man who is full of forgiveness and generosity would certainly, what? Not treat his enemies the way they treat him. And this was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Qambar says, I learned from this. Likewise, he says, one day I was walking with Amir al-Mu'mineen, someone came and shatamani. He starts to abuse me, abuse Qambar. So I became enraged. I was about to respond. He said, Amir al-Mu'mineen said to me, Mahlan Qambar. Wait 1 second. He said to me, Qambar, why don't you do something that will please Allah and it will really hurt shaitan? Qambar said, what should I do, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? He said, Al-Hilm, being forbearant, really pleases the Lord. And being silent in return to abuse really is hated by shaitan. Yes? Amir al-Mu'mineen would say to him, don't reply. Because somebody, yes, would say, there are narrations. Somebody one day was walking next to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen was walking in the streets. This man began to abuse him. Imam did not respond. The man continued walking next to him and continued handling the abuse. Imam would not look at him or respond. Finally, the man said, by the way, Ya Ali, I'm abusing you. You know, sometimes you abuse people and you don't care. Imam looked at him and says, and I'm ignoring you. You abuse me and I ignore you. Yes. That's it. The idea, therefore, is not easy. But Imam alayhi salam is saying what? Display that forbearance. Display that hilm. You will see powerful impact in your life and the way you deal with others. Qambar says, one day we were traveling, we were walking in the streets of Kufa, and I saw how the commander of the faithful would treat people who are deprived, the poor and the needy. In which way? He said, I saw Amir al-Mu'mineen hear from inside the house children crying. So he knocked on the door. This is a different story from the lady who was carrying things and later blamed Amir al-Mu'mineen without recognizing. It's different. Qambar said, I saw Amir al-Mu'mineen, I was with him. When we knocked on the door, Amir al-Mu'mineen said, why are the children crying? This lady said, it's because they're hungry. Yes. And I'm not able to provide for them food. He said, Amir al-Mu'mineen looked at me and said, Qambar, you go to my house, get the flour, yes, that is there, and get some dates. He said, I went, I got the flour, and I came with some dates. He said, I gave it to the Imam. The Imam went inside the house with his own blessed hands. He prepared the bread. He said, I saw in my own eyes. I was surprised. He said, I looked at this, but I know the generosity of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He was doing this. He said, but what really caught my attention, Qambar says, is after he served this bread and the dates to the children, he began to play with them. He began to, spend time with them. Then he left. On the way, I said to him, Mawla, I understand why you baked the bread for them. I understand why you gave them dates. But I don't understand why you played with them. He said, Qambar, when I was walking in the streets, I heard them cry. I wanted to leave the house whilst they're laughing and happy. I wanted the complete opposite. Not only to give them the food, but also to recognize that there is joy in their hearts. That is what I wanted to do. But arguably, if you study the life of Qambar and the observations that Qambar had with his association with Amir al-Mu'mineen, what I found was the numerous traditions and stories and narratives from Qambar in relation to the justice of the commander of the faithful. And this highlights how Qambar was inspired by Amir al-Mu'mineen with regards to this whole concept of adala. I tell you, yes? Because Qambar would write and would not stop writing, or would narrate, and people would write from Qambar about how he admired the justice of the Imam. And each and every one of us, no doubt, admires the justice of the Imam. How can we not when the Prophet of Islam not only says Aliyun ma'al haqq, but says wal haqqu ma'a Ali. And then he says وَأَنَّهَا تَدُورُ كَمَا يُدَارُ, that haqq goes and revolves around Ali ibn Abi Talib. It is not the other way around. If you want to see the truth, look at the personality of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Qambar says, I noticed a number of fascinating areas when it comes to this. Let's give you a number of examples, observations and narrations from Qambar with regards to the justice of the Imam. He says one day there was a man who was being placed in a makeshift cell, so to speak, or a prison at the time of the second Khalifa. And he was about to be whipped. Yes, he was being dragged. On the way, he saw Amir al-Mu'mineen and said to him, Ya Ali, save me. He said, what's the issue? So he went to the courtyard of the second Khalifa. He was told that this man had bought what he believed to be his mother. Yes, he says, this is my mother. This lady said, I have nothing to do with him. I'm not his mother. Right? I am nobody with him. He is accusing me of adultery or whatever. How can I be his mother? Yes, I don't know who he is. So the second Khalifa said, okay, fine. Bring witnesses. Do you have witnesses? So who she bought? She bought 4 of her brothers. Her brothers all came and swore and says, Wallah, we testify that this man is not the son of our sister. He's lying. Yes. He is accusing her. And when you accuse in Islam, there are 4 witnesses. You have to be what? You have to be punished. Therefore, second Khalifa said, very well, that's enough. Then he has to be slashed. And he has to be what? Punished in this way. On the way, he found Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I am being wronged and this. Save me. Imam said, come with me. He took him back to the gathering. At that moment, what did he say? He brought the lady back and said, you absolutely testified that you're saying the truth and so on. He said, yes. I don't know who this person is. Then Imam said, did a very clever thing. He said to her, would you accept whatever my ruling is? She was very confident. She said, whatever you say, Ya Ali, I will accept. Yes? How can anyone reject, yes, the gate to the city of knowledge of Rasulullah? How can anyone? Because I tell you, I saw a narration today. A man was came to the mosque of the Prophet and went to Amir al-Mu'mineen, said salam to him first, then went to the Prophet. People looked at him and said, what are you doing? That's not appropriate. Say salam to the Prophet first, then Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, leave me. I am following the sunnah of Rasulullah. What do you mean sunnah of Rasulullah? Is it in the Prophet of Islam say, Ana madinatul ilm wa aliyun babuha. Ali is the gate to the city of the Prophet. If I want to come to the Prophet, I have to come through Ali. Yes. In the idea that what? In the idea that the Prophet, Amir al-Mu'mineen said to her, would you accept my ruling? She said, yes, I would accept. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, Qambar. Qambar was next to him. He said, yes. He said, give me 200 dirham. I'm not giving 200 dirham. He said, I hereby use this 200 dirham to marry this man and this woman. Here, you're both married. Go home, and I would like to see you after you do ghusl. This lady began to shake. She said to Ali, Ya Ali, I'm fearful of God. How can I marry my own son? He says, then why are you lying? She said, I was forced by my 4 brothers because they would not accept that what I had a relationship and what I was a slave girl, and so on and so forth. But you're absolutely right. The Justice of Ali Qambar said, I recognize, yes, there is no doubt, I recognize about the excellence of the school of Amir al-Mu'mineen as far as the establishment of Adala, something which is what? The Adala of the Holy Prophet. Abu Hurairah says, one day I was walking and I saw the Prophet. I said to him, Ya Rasulullah, I am hungry, give me some dates. So the Prophet of Islam gave him some dates. He says, he picked up his hands and gave me some dates. So I picked it up and put it in my pocket. I walked, I continued walking. Who did I see? Ali ibn Abi Talib. I said to him, Ali, I'm hungry. You know, some people are not satisfied. So I want some dates. Amir al-Mu'mineen gives him some dates. He takes it himself. Sunni books, not Shia books. So I went home. I took the date from Ali and I took the dates out from the Prophet. I was excited. I have 2 groups of dates. But then he said something caught my attention. They looked like similar in number. I decided to count. I counted the dates. There were 73 from the Prophet and 73 from Ali. Exactly the same. I rushed back and I saw the Prophet. I said to him, Ya Rasulullah, is this a coincidence? I asked you for dates, you gave me. I asked Ali for dates, he gave me. But the number of dates you gave me is exactly the same dates as what Ali gave me. The Prophet would look at Abu Hurairah and say, ألا تعلم أن يدي ويد علي في العدل واحد. Do you not know my hands and the hands of Ali in justice is the same. Yes. It's exactly the same. Hence, Qambar would say that I saw this in action. In which way? Qambar narrates. He says, one day Amir al-Mu'mineen was asked to judge at the time of the Holy Prophet to give a ruling because in Yemen they had caught a lion. Please listen to the story. Yes, they had caught a lion. When they caught a lion, the lion was, in this hole, and the people had gathered to see what had happened. That caught a lion. So one person slipped into the hole where the lion was. He just slipped. Whilst he was slipping into there, he grabbed someone to help him, but sadly, instead of that person helping him, that person also slipped. That second person, in desperation, trying to also grip, held the third man. That third man also slipped. And the third man held the fourth individual. All four of them slipped into the hole, and all four of them were killed by the lion because they couldn't save them. So the families came and said, who should pay the compensation for what? Who's responsible? Yes. In which percentage the diya, the compensation, for the accidental killing should be paid? They came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, the first man does not get anything. Yes. He should not be given anything. The second gets a third compensation from the first man's family. The third person gets a third diya from the second man's family. And the fourth gets 100% from the third man's family. They're saying, what is this? We've never had this complicated equation. They came and complained to the Holy Prophet. This was a common feature at the time of the Holy Prophet. That people did not really appreciate and understand the excellence and the status of the commander of the faithful. So sometimes they would come, how sometimes, although it's a figurative comparison, it's nothing like that, but sometimes children, when they have an issue with the father, they go to the mother. When the mother, they have an issue, they go to the father. They complain about the other. So they knew that there was a close relationship, but yet they would come to the Prophet and say, Ya Rasulullah, look at how Ali has ruled. Yes. The Prophet would say, this ruling of Ali is something that pleases Allah and His Arsh. And it is a correct ruling. Yes? The Prophet would continuously highlight that what? That Amir al-Mu'mineen's justice was a justice that should be adhered to and should be followed. That's why today, no doubt, non-Muslims have admired the justice of Amir al-Mu'mineen. This man, by the name of Gabriel Gibran, this is a Lebanese historian. He has written some works. He says, I believe Ali was fought in his life and he was killed primarily because of his justice. People could not tolerate the adala of Ali. That is what they were not able to deal with. Yes? Of course, George Jordak has written the famous work, Ali, the Voice of Human Justice. Over 1 million copies were sold. And he himself says, when he was interviewed, he says in Beirut, in Lebanon, Lebanon where I live, he's a Lebanese author. Yes? He says, when I was there, I used to sit next to the river, and I was once given the book Nahjul Balagh by someone. Subhanallah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to guide individuals, even if they recognize or start to learn about these holy individuals, Ahlul Bayt, it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. Sometimes, by the way, just in between brackets, the first thing that sometimes we give non-Muslims often is what? The Quran. Is this a good thing? I don't think so. You might be surprised for me to say this, yes? It is a good thing for me to get, even ulama have discussed whether it's appropriate or not. Because number one, a non-Muslim may not respect the Quran. That's a possibility. Even if they were to say, I would respect the Quran, there is a likelihood, and if there is no one to explain some verses, there is a likelihood that they go online and sadly be what? Sadly be deviated or be given information which is wrong with regarding the Holy Quran. Which text should we give the non-Muslims to start off with? Have you not come across treatises of rights of Imam Zayn al-Abidin? Books such as, for example, what? Book such as Sahifatul Sajjadiyya. Books such as Nahjul Balagh, yes. Or there are now books, extracts from Nahjul Balagh, which are quite powerful, yes. Even the sermon of Amir al-Mu'mineen to Malik al-Ashtar in itself is a wonderful beginning, yes. To be given to a non-Muslim to understand how the religion of Islam looks at treating others in the world today that's plagued with terrorism and misconceptions about the religion. This man, George Jordak, said that I read Nahjul Balagh next to a river in my house. I was what his expression was in his interview. He said, I drowned in the sea of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And I indeed became infatuated with him. He said, I went to university, but I couldn't focus on my degree. He said, I was desperate to write something about Ali ibn Abi Talib. So he said, I went back home after university and I began to write, inspired by Nahj al-Balagha, to research. A Christian, non-Muslim, writes a book about the commander of the faithful. He said, when I finished, I wanted to publish the book, but who paid for it? He said, my community, the Christian community. In that village, they came and said, we'll publish it. No problem. They published the book, yes. Ali Sawt al-Adalat al-Insani, the voice of human justice. He says, when we published the book, I went away. I came back. He said, my father's a carpenter. He said, I was surprised. He has also read the book. In which way? He said, I came, entered the house, that he'd used a big wooden plank, and there was something that was carved. From far, I couldn't read. I came. As soon as I entered the house, I read it, that my Christian father, next to my house, had a plaque that said, La fata illa Ali wa la sayfa illa dhul. The recognition is what? That the justice of Amir al-Mu'mineen is sometimes and a very important critical factor that has to be understood. Qambar would say that this is something that inspired me. Today, as we are individuals, the Ahl al-Bayt would say, yes, be people who follow in our footsteps, no doubt. When you recite Ziyarat Ashura, what do we recite? Allahumma aj'al mahyai mahya Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Wa mamati mamata Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, make my life that which resembles the life of Ahl al-Bayt, and my death to be in the state of the love of Ahl al-Bayt. That is true, but there is a very more powerful understanding, more profound understanding, which says what? Ya Allah, make me an individual that carries the message of Ahl al-Bayt and becomes a living example of their legacy. Just like how Qambar would do so, yes? You and I, they have these individuals around them, but indeed, they are also exemplary for us. People like Qambar are also great role models for us, for our children, for our youth, to understand their achievements and their status. When it comes to Qambar, what he would narrate? He would narrate a famous story with regards to the justice of Amir al-Mu'mineen in regards to family life. Because I end with this. Today, when we come to our family lives and it comes to marriages and so on and so forth, even when it comes to Western countries, we hear of so many different ways in which people have dealt with their what? With their families. And in the idea that sometimes both the husband and wife are not thinking about that adala, that justice that should be implemented, yes? Sometimes its own personal, whatever I would like to do, is enforced. In the notion that Amir al-Mu'mineen Qambar would say, in the streets of Kufa, saw a lady outside the house. When he saw that lady, he said to her, why are you outside? She said, my husband kicked me out. He said, why? He said, we had a dispute. He said that Amir al-Mu'mineen said it's a midday, but justice cannot wait. So he goes with the lady, knocks on the door. That man opens the door. Can I help you? Doesn't recognize Amir al-Mu'mineen. Imam said to him, what? He said to him, take your wife back. It is better for you, yes? Administer what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to. The man became enraged. Who are you to tell me about this? Just because you have now done this, I'm going to punish her even more. Yes? I'm going to hurt her even more. Now, when the language of reason and discourse doesn't work, the next thing is Dhul Fiqar comes out. And when Dhul Fiqar came out, this man recognized who? The man standing before him was, yes? When he recognized, he fell on his knees. He said, no problem, I'll take her back. I'll do whatever. But the key thing, Amir al-Mu'mineen then said to the lady, he looked at her and said, by the way, you also have to respect him. Don't make him reach to the level where what? He had to kind of kick you out of the house. Not right. But don't you yourself be in that position to, as well, to be mistreating your husband. Yes? That's why you find that Qambar would narrate these stories and many others. But the question that many people have is, he was inspired by Amir al-Mu'mineen. No doubt he was with Imam al-Hassan. No doubt with Imam al-Hussein. But where was Qambar on the 10th of Muharram? People ask this question, don't they? They say, if he was a great individual, why did he join the caravan of martyrdom with Abu Abdullah? Why is he not listed as the Shuhada, one of the Shuhada? Why is he not listed as well anyone who supported Imam in Medina or in Mecca? Yes. And a similar question is asked regarding greats such as Kumayl ibn Ziyad, yes, or Sa'id ibn Jubayr. These are great companions of the Ahl al-Bayt, yes. Or, for example, Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar, the husband of Sayyida Zainab, peace be upon her. These individuals have been the question or the subject of these questions historically. The people ask, why were they not standing alongside Abu Abdullah? What was their role when it came to the tragedy of Karbala? Indeed, history is silent about this. History is silent. You and I must be able to deduce and come to the conclusion that when an individual, their life is what? Full of illustrious stance and positions which the Ahl al-Bayt have been pleased with, yes, such as Qambar, yes, such as Kumail, when they have left such wonderful examples, and later after Ashura, when these people attained martyrdom, when they were truly on the path of the Ahl al-Bayt, there is no doubt that they had a role, but history did not record that role. And that there was a reason, a valid reason for them not to take part, because they were the creme de la creme. They were the best of the companions, yes. And therefore Qambar might have been asked to be staying in Medina or Mecca by the Imam alayhi salam. Maybe he was sent on a mission somewhere else, yes. But what happened after the 10th is many of them kept honor, as indeed was the case for many of the Ahlul Bayt as well as their companions, kept a very low profile. Until we are told whom? Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. One day Hajjaj ibn Yusuf said, can you find me an individual who is beloved to Abu Turab? Find me someone who Ali loved. They said, there is no man alive who Ali loved as much as Qambar. According to the people with him, so bring the Qambar. They brought him Qambar. He looked at Qambar and said, oh Qambar, leave the religion of Ali. Qambar responds with a phenomenal line. He says to him, show me a religion better than the religion of Ali and I will follow it. Hajjaj says to him, then in that case, I will kill you. How would you like me to kill you? You know, Hajjaj was such a brutal, merciless killer that he would give people options, yes? But then would go against them. Qambar said to him, don't worry. My Mawla Master told me that I will be killed by the worst of God's creation. Yes. That moment was the moment that Hajjaj decided to execute and what? To join Qambar in the path of Shahada, of those who stood on the path of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam. And by the way, his shrine is available today in Iraq, in an area known as Wasat, in a city known as Wasat in Iraq. People still come and pay their respects to the shrine of Qambar ibn Hamdan, the famous companion of the Imam alayhi salam, who recognized what? Who recognized the status of the Ahl al-Bayt, but was infatuated with whom? With the commander of the faithful, that name Ali, yes? That name Ali, that was beloved to the Ahl al-Bayt. There is no greater name that the Ahl al-Bayt used to name what? The Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt. We have 4 Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt who named that Ali, yes? And indeed, that name Ali, that was beloved to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Where some narrations say that he named all of his sons Ali, isn't it? That indeed was something that the Imam was emphasizing about, isn't it? That the love of the commander of the faithful and the following of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And that is why when it came to his sons, when it came to the Shahada of his sons, it was indeed very painful. For whom? For the grandson of the Holy Prophet. But I tell you, in Iraq today, we are told that there was a number of shuhada in the last few years fighting ISIS and Daesh. Let me tell you this story before going into the musibah. We are told that this young man, he was fairly in his 50s or 60s. He decided to fight the enemies of Allah in protection of the shrines of the Ahl al-Bayt. He had a 16-year-old boy and who had a responsibility to look after his family. This particular story is told to us by a number of reliable brothers in Iraq. He says, he joined the brothers who are fighting on the battlefields, and he said, we were cornered in one particular position. We saw the enemy approach towards us with a Humvee, which they were shooting at us, and we didn't know what to do. We were hiding behind, these trenches. He said, all of a sudden we saw a young boy emerge from another battalion, but we had no knowledge of who this young boy was. He rushed towards that particular Humvee and he distracted it, and that distraction enabled us to shoot at it and destroy it. But that young boy was shot and he fell injured, yes. We rushed towards him, but they would not let me, this elderly individual, 50, 60-year-old, would say they would not let me go towards where that young boy was. I was telling them, why? Let me go and thank him. He saved our lives. They said, no, please. Eventually I insisted. He said, I went and I came across close to where he was lying. He was breathing his last moments in the desert. He said, I sat next to him and I recognized he's my 16-year-old son. I looked at him. I didn't know what to say, and he looked at me and says, Father, I'm so sorry. You asked me to stay at home. But wallah, I remembered the cries of Hussein, Hal min nasirin yansuruna. Is there anyone to help us? And I could not bear except to come to the battlefield. Who is going to protect the shrine of Hussein? Who is going to protect the shrine of Abu Fadl, the shrine of Amir al-Mu'mineen? I have to do something. I couldn't stay at home. He said, I started to cry. I started to weep, seeing my own son in this state. But then what he said to me next broke my heart. He looked at me and he said to me, Father, please don't cry. If you want to cry, then cry for Aba Abdullah and Ali al-Akbar. Remember Ali al-Akbar. He said, just the remembrance of Ali al-Akbar allowed me to deal with my tragedy, with the losing of my son. Yes. But I tell you, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, no one would know the pain that he would go through when he would see his son Ali al-Akbar stand before him asking for permission to go to the battlefield. Not only was Ali al-Akbar his son that was beloved to him, but also he was a man who would remind him of Rasulullah, the way he looked, the way he spoke, yes, his mannerism. I tell you, when Ali al-Akbar would recite Adhan in the morning, it would indeed remind everyone of the Adhan at the time of the Holy Prophet. And that's why the Imam alayhi salam, when he would look at Ali al-Akbar, he would not say anything, and Ali al-Akbar would not say anything. All that they did was to embrace each other. All that they did was to hug each other. This was their means of saying their farewell to each other. They both knew what was about to happen. Yes, some narrations say they wept and cried until they fell on the ground. Next part was Ali al-Akbar going towards the battlefield. Aba Abdullah lifting his head towards the heavens and supplicating to Allah. Ya Allah, be a witness that a man that resembles Rasulullah has emerged to the battlefield. Ya Allah, do not allow them to thrive. Ya Allah, deprive them of your mercy. The narrations tell us that Ali al-Akbar fought so valiantly. Some say his mother Layla was in Karbala. She could not see what was happening to Ali. All she was monitoring was the facial expressions of Aba Abdullah. The narrations tell us that when she saw Hussein's facial expressions change, a mother would think about her child. Yes, she would want the best for her child. Imam alayhi salam saw that she was worried. He says to her, Layla, if you want to see your son again, supplicate to Allah. The dua of the mother is answered by Allah. Yes, I say to Aba Abdullah, Ya Hussein, Ali al-Akbar, his mother wanted to see him. Where was Fatima on the 10th of Muharram? Yes, where was Fatima looking for Aba Abdullah? Ya Hussein, your ribs were crushed under the hooves of the horses. The poet says Hussein, when he was crushed, because the narration says the hooves of the horses crushed Aba Abdullah before he was martyred. The poet says Hussein cries Fatima, and Fatima cries Hussein. Yes, the narrations tell us that Layla would supplicate. She would sit before Allah on the prayer mat. She would supplicate and say, Ya Allah, bi ghurbati Aba Abdullah. Ya Allah, Hussein is alone on the battlefield. Oh, the one who returned Yusuf to Yaqub. Let me see Ali again. Ali al-Akbar returns. Now he wants water. The heavy armor is killing him. He says, Father, Father, Is there any drop of water? I need some water. Hussein's heart breaks for him. He wants his son to be comfortable. There is no water for Ali al-Akbar. The narration says the father wants to help his son. He says, Bunay Ali, my son Ali, take some saliva from my mouth. Maybe you will be quenched. Ali says, Father, Wallah, your mouth is even drier than mine. Hussein never complained. Hussein was thirsty, but he was thinking about the others. Son Ali, go to your mother. She's waiting for you. Ali al-Akbar enters the tent. He finds his mother Layla unconscious. He sits next to her, weeps, sheds the tears. The tears drop on the cheeks of Layla. She wakes up. Is this a dream? Is this a reality? Is this Ali before me? But wallah, the next thing she asks Ali al-Akbar highlights how she anticipated what will happen. She says, my son Ali, let me see you for the final time. All I want you to do is stand before me. Don't do anything. Mother, why? Because she knows the next time she sees Ali, he'll be in pieces. Let my eyes be filled with your vision. Let me see you for the final time in one piece. Ali al-Akbar goes back to the battlefield. The narration says the next time Abu Abdullah heard the cry was when Ali al-Akbar fell from his horse. He says, Ya Father Hussein, come next to me, for my grandfather is quenching my thirst. I am next to Rasulullah. Abu Abdullah rushes towards the battlefield. The poet says, on his way towards Ali al-Akbar, he looks towards Najaf. Father Ali, you had to lift the gates of Khaybar, but you never had to lift the body of your son. Here I am carrying the body of my son Ali al-Akbar. He sits next to his son Ali al-Akbar. What does he see? Abu Abdullah had to see so many of his family members, of his companions in the state. It's just enough to know that they're martyred. But what does Abu Abdullah see of Ali al-Akbar? Narration says a man struck Ali on his head with a pole. Narration says the horse was blinded with the blood of Ali. Instead of taking him to the side of Imam al-Hussein, it took him to the other side. They surrounded him. Now he was not able to defend himself, and they stabbed him, they struck him. Imam sits next to Ali and says, Oh son Ali, what is the worth of this dunya without you? You have left this world and left your father to grief and to deal with the pains of this world. But the final moments of the life of Ali al-Akbar was that Imam al-Hussein would ask about. He would say, why do I see you smiling on one side and weeping on the other? Ali says, Father Hussein, on my right is Rasulullah. He is quenching my thirst from the pond of Kawthar. On my left is my grandmother Fatima al-Zahra, slapping her cheeks, crying out, Oh Hussein, oh Mazlum, oh my Hussein, why are you alone on the plains of Karbala? My Hussein, why are you without any water? My Hussein, why are the children crying out thirst, oh thirst? My Hussein, where is Ali al-Asghar and where is Qasim? My Hussein, where can I find the severed arms of Abbas? My Hussein, tell me what happened to the right eye of Abbas. My Hussein, I wish there was there with you to see Shimmer sit on your chest and help. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين وإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us a tawfiq to follow in the footsteps of great companions such as Qamar. We pray to him subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to die in the state of the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Ahl al-Bayt. We pray to him subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us a tawfiq to be able to visit the shrines of the Ahl al-Bayt and to attain their shafa'ah on the day of judgment. Ya Allah, allow us to see the day in which the demolished shrines of the A'immatul Baqi' is rebuilt once again. Ya Allah, there is no one to mourn Aba Abdullah next to Baqi'. There is no one to mourn Imam al-Askari Shahada next to Baqi'. There is no one to mourn the Prophet and the Imams next to Baqi'. Ya Allah, allow us to be able to hold majalis next to Jannatul Baqi'. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the marhumeen of the establishers of this majlis. Ya Allah, bless their household, grant them tawfiq and success in dunya and akhirah. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, but before it to allow us to see the day in which we serve the Holy 12th Imam and be part of his army. Matan Hussein. Ya Hussein.
Allahu Akbar, hai mera sohna Akbar. 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 Allahu Akbar, mera sohna Akbar. De aakhri putar azan, de aakhri putar azan, hove deen to aj qurban. Allahu Akbar, hai mera sohna Akbar. Allahu Akbar, mera sohna Akbar. Allahu Akbar, mera sohna Akbar. Allahu Akbar, mera sohna Akbar. Pad putar shahado la ilaha kar tera istiqbal kaza. Pad putar shahado la ilaha kar tera istiqbal kaza. Hey Rab diye mansha chand ghadiyan da mehman. Allahu Akbar, mera sohna Akbar. Allahu Akbar, mera sohna Akbar. Allahu Akbar, mera sohna Akbar. Sab den gwahi al-sama tera nana pak Rasool Allah. Sab den gwahi al-sama tera nana pak Rasool Allah. روندی ماں زہرا تیری بچڑا سن آزان. اللہ اکبر, اے میرا سونا اکبر. اللہ اکبر, میرا سونا اکبر. کہو حیا علی خیر العمل اسفیو پترانے ہو نکتن. کہو حیا علی خیر العمل اسفیو پترانے ہو نکتن. نہیں کرنی امت حیا اج خالق دا فرمان اللہ اکبر اے میرا سونا اکبر اللہ اکبر اے سونا اکبر اللہ اکبر میرا سونا اکبر یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین ننگے سر دیکھے نہ پھپیاں ننگے سر دیکھے نہ پھپیاں بھرے بازار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی ننگے سر دیکھے نہ پھپیاں ننگے سر دیکھے نہ پھپیاں سر بازار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی دیس اپنے چ نہ پردیسی کوئی بھی ہووے دیکھ بھر جایا کسر ننگے کوئی نہ رووے جاوے ہر موڑ تے رک دی جاوے ہر موڑ تے رک دی نہ پردے دار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی دیکھے نہ پتر دے گل تو ظلم دے پیندے نیزے کو دیکھے نہ بچڑی دے کوئی در لیندے شالہ گش کھاوے سے ناتے شالہ گش کھاوے سے ناتے نہ بار بار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی کوئی مزدور کدی شالہ نہ پاوے کڑیاں دیکھ دربار دے وچ بہنا تے پھپیاں کھڑیاں ہووے سجاد تے وانگو ہووے سجاد تے وانگو نہ بے قرار کوئی ہووے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی تیرا کرچید کرے مولا اے رو رو کے دعا غم کسے نوں نہ ملے کوئی تیرے غم دے سوا روے غم تیرے تے باجوں روے غم تیرے تے باجوں نہ ازادار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی روے نہ دور وطن کو شالہ بیمار کوئی
بولے پدر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا بولے پدر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا ہے جان اب لبوں پر برچھی نہ کھینچنا
نہ کھینچنا.
بابا نظر کو پھیر لو دم ٹوٹنے لگا. برچھی کے پھل سے خون ہے دل کا رکا ہوا. ابلے گا خون زمین پر برچھی نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا. میں نے تمہیں بلایا تھا تاکہ میں کہہ سکوں بالکل نہ غم کرو میرے دل کو ہے اب سکون. بیٹھے رہو یہاں مگر
بیٹھے رہو یہاں مگر
برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
اماں کو یہ خبر نہ ہو میرے سنہا لگی. غش آ گیا ہے بس ذرا شدت کی پیاس کی. میں آ رہا ہوں جاؤ گھر.
میں آ رہا ہوں جاؤ گھر.
برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
بولے حسین باپ کو پہلا رہے معلوم ہے کہ یہاں سے کہا جا رہے ہیں کہتے ہو منہ کو پھیر کر.
کہتے ہو منہ کو پھیر کر
برچھی
نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
بولے
ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
سانسیں اکھڑ رہی ہے تو مدھم ہے نفس بھی. کرتے ہو آہ ہم کو ہے تاکید صبر کی. کہتے ہو تھام کر جگر.
کہتے ہو تھام کر جگر.
برچھی نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا. بولے
ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
اکبر پکارے باپ سے دل کو سنبھالیے. ٹوٹی سنا کلیجے میں رہنے ہی دیجیے. نکلے گا ساتھ میں جگر.
نکلے گا ساتھ میں جگر.
برچھی
نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
بولے
ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
مولا نے علی کہا دل کو سنبھال کر. پھر خود ہی لڑکھڑا گئے برچھی نکال کر. کہتا رہا جواب سر.
کہتا رہا جواب سر.
برچھی
نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا. بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچھی نہ کھینچنا.
ریحان سات برچھی کے دل بھی نکل پڑا. پڑھتے رہے حسین بھی دیر مرثیہ. ماں کہتی آئی ننگے سر.
ماں کہتی آئی ننگے
برچی نہ کھینچنا بولے ادھر سے اکبر برچی نہ کھینچنا بولے ادھر سے اکبر
الوداع ماتم کے لیے الوداع اے حسین حسین الوداع الوداع اے حسین حسین الوداع الوداع اے حسین اے رسول مکرم کے چین الوداع الوداع اے حسین الوداع چاندنی رات پر مردنی چھا گئی چاندنی رات پر مردنی چھا گئی کھو گیا چاند تاروں کا چین الوداع الوداع اے حسین الوداع الوداع اے حسین الوداع سر کھلے فاطمہ آ رہی ہے نظر سر کھلے فاطمہ آ رہی ہے نظر رو رہے ہیں شہر مشرقین الوداع الوداع اے حسین الوداع الوداع اے حسین الوداع ہم جئیں گے تو اگلے برس روئیں گے ہم جئیں گے تو اگلے برس روئیں گے ہم جئیں گے تو اگلے برس روئیں گے پھر سے ہوگا یہی شور و شور الوداع الوداع اے حسین الوداع الوداع اے حسین
صلی اللہ علیہ یا ابا عبداللہ وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت بقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين